It's the Ross Tucker Football Podcast.
Yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Tuckheads Tuesday. This one is for you, dudes. This is our first week of being daily. What does that mean? You guys know what daily means, hopefully. But it means Monday through Friday, we will get you a new Ross Tucker Football Podcast every single day. So you'll have 30 minutes of on-demand audio content to know exactly what is going on in the NFL from a former player's perspective. We also, of course, will have the Even Money podcast on Tuesdays. That's today. We're doing the NFC season win totals. We will do college draft on Mondays. Emery Hunt was awesome yesterday, breaking down the top 10 players in the SEC. Wednesdays and Thursdays, we'll have Joe Dolan, 2 Fantasy Feast episodes, because one just can't contain everything we need to get to in fantasy football each week during the season. Then, of course, on Thursdays, Greg Cosell on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, and Fridays, it will be a Picks Friday. Although today is kind of a Picks Friday. We've never done this before, but we started the daily episodes a week early this year. And so this is Prediction Tuesday. You've heard of like Super Tuesday. Prediction Tuesday. I'm going to tell you in a little bit who I think is going to win every division, all the wild cards, conference championship games, and yes, the Super Bowl. We're presented by DraftKings. Who else? America's #1 rated sportsbook app. And what a week this is, by the way. We are giving away 6, count them, 6 Madden codes. If you want a free Madden, it is really easy to do so. Really easy to do so. All you have to do is enter. All you have to do is try. Get the DraftKings Sportsbook app on your phone. If you are in a state that's legal, go ahead, throw the code in Ross and deposit some amount of money, whatever it is, $5, $10, $5,000, what, I don't know how you roll, however you roll. If you're in a state that's not legal, that's fine too. You can still get the app on your phone. You can still throw in Ross, and you can play like in the Survivor pool and stuff like that for free. So either way, you can download the app on your phone and put the code Ross in and play, whether it's for money or in the Survivor pool, which I love. Like, I'm all about Survivor pool. So that'll be the sponsor confirmation email winner this week. Will be someone who gets the free Madden code. So make sure after you sign up, send it to me, ross@rosstucker.com. And if the DraftKings Sportsbook app isn't your thing, all right, go ahead and take advantage of a bunch of other sponsors. Send them to me, ross@rosstucker.com. You will be automatically entered as well. I got 6, 3 for PS4, 3 for Xbox. We will have a spread the word winner as well. Look, I check Instagram @RossTuckerNFL, @RossTuckerPod. I check Facebook, facebook.com/RossTuckerNFL. We check Twitter @RossTuckerNFL, @RossTuckerPod. I notice when new people like or retweet or share the show. I notice. So be the new person this week and be the spread the word winner. Other than that, it's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
All right, Bri. So we're going to do this a little bit different. We've never done this before. Next Tuesday, we'll start our power rankings. Power rankings Tuesday. Maybe Mike Pettin. Maybe a little Mike Pettin in your life. And then we will also, on today's podcast, on the Even Money podcast, have the NFC season win totals. But today, we're going to go through it. You're going to get my predictions for the season. Now, you kind of get them, I guess, with the season win totals a little bit. But you don't really know who I see going to the conference championship games, who I see as the wild cards, who I see winning it all. So let's do it, Brian. Let's start in the AFC.
All right. As you said, the AFC. Well, let's start out west with the AFC West.
All right. So I'm not dumb. All right. I got the Chiefs winning the AFC West. I'd be surprised if anybody else does. Although, wow, I am getting, you guys got to check out my social media, especially Twitter at RossTuckerNFL. I am getting massacred by Chiefs fans. They are memeing and gifing me or jiffing me, whatever. They are memeing and gifing me to death because I wrote a story in The Athletic. And just so you guys know, I send The Athletic like 5 story ideas, and they pick one of the 5. And the one that they picked was that I don't think the Chiefs are going to repeat this year. I don't think the Chiefs are going to be a dynasty for 2 reasons. Number one, it's really, really, really hard to do. Like, anytime there's a young core that wins a Super Bowl like they did last year, oh, they could be a dynasty. Oh, they could be a dynasty. Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll, Legion of Boom. No. Oh, Aaron Rodgers, Clay Matthews, Charles Woodson, all these receivers could be a dynasty with the Packers. Nope. Remember even in the mid-90s, Brett Favre, oh my gosh, Reggie White. Nope. It's hard. I mean, the last dynasty, nobody's been a dynasty since 1995 other than the Patriots. So for 25 years, nobody has shown that they could win 3 championships in a 5 or 6 year period or whatever it is. Nobody. Anyway, read the story at The Athletic. But I got the Chiefs winning the division, Bri.
All right, let's go east to the AFC East.
Okay, now I played for both these teams, both the Bills and the Patriots. But I think if you've been listening for a long time, you know that the team that I played for, that I have the greatest affinity for, is the Buffalo Bills. I started the most games there. I was there the longest. I got paid the most money there. And that's where fans remember me, if anywhere. It's a shame with the back surgery because I think I could have been there for a long time. But I digress. Point is, I have a real affinity for the Buffalo Bills. And I believe this is their year. I believe it's their time. They have a beautiful roster. They have depth pretty much everywhere you look. It is their turn. It is their time. The Patriots have all those opt-outs. We'll see if Cam stays healthy and how well Cam plays. But I've got the Buffalo Bills winning the AFC East at long last. I think it was like the early to mid-90s since they've won the division. But I think it happens this year. My beloved Buffalo Bills get it done and win the AFC East.
Now, who do you like up in the north?
I think you got to go Baltimore. Now, you'll hear my wild card picks moment. It's interesting because I have, I don't think the Ravens are going to have the same record they had last year, Bri. I don't think they're going to catch the league by storm as much during the regular season, but that doesn't mean they can't be better in the postseason. Little hint right there, Bri, a little tease as to what I think we're going to see later on in my predictions. But I have got the Baltimore Ravens holding off the Pittsburgh Steelers to still win the AFC North.
All right, now to the south, and I doubt it's going to be the Jags.
It is not the Jags. The Jags are rebuilding since 1999, maybe. They've been rebuilding since, but very disappointing, by the way. And it's amazing that they're letting the same head coach and the same GM be the guys constructing this rebuild. I don't understand that at all. I mean, obviously, I'm sure Dave Caldwell, the GM there in Jacksonville, made the argument that Tom Coughlin was the one making the decisions, not him, but still, man, still. Anyway, if you notice anything, Bri, in the NFL and the AFC South in particular, but the NFL, it seems like when teams are down one year and another team's up, it does seem like, unless they're like a dominant team like the Patriots or the Chiefs or whatever, or maybe even the Ravens, it does seem like there's some yin and some yang there, right? It does seem like that teams switch who gets a chance to be on top. And with the Colts being down last year, while the Texans and Titans were up, both of which won playoff games, I am predicting the Texans and the Titans take a little bit of a step back, and Phillip Rivers. And you got to listen to the Fantasy Feast podcast this week for my O-line rankings. But Phillip Rivers and my number one ranked Indianapolis Colts offensive line, they are going to take the AFC South. He'll get rid of the ball quickly. Best O-line he's had. I think they're better. I think it's the Colts here. I think it's a jumbled division still, but I think the Indianapolis Colts go ahead and win the AFC South.
Shifting gears over to the NFC, is it the Niners or the Seahawks in the West?
Well, why don't we do the AFC wild cards first, Brian? You want to do the wild cards first while we're on the AFC?
Sure. All right.
Okay.
So there you go. Let's start with the wild cards.
I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going back to the playoffs. They don't miss the playoffs multiple years in a row very often. They just don't. It just doesn't happen. Their defense might not quite be as good statistically this year as they were last year, but they'll still be good. Big Ben's back. I think the Steelers are going to be a 9-10 win team. I think the Steelers are getting one of the wild card spots. I've also been thinking a lot about this, Bri. I think the Patriots end up winning 9 games, and I think they probably end up getting one of the 3 wild card spots. So I've got the Patriots as well. I just think, I'm going a lot based on all of the positivity we're hearing about Cam Newton, and I'm going to have the Patriots going ahead and getting one of the wild card spots. Although these wild card spots in both conferences were tough, man, really tough. My last wild card, though, Bri, this is going to surprise you and a lot of people. The Las Vegas Raiders. They've got continuity on the coaching staff. They've got a lot of continuity on the team, including the same 5 guys on the offensive line back. I believe they have a top 10 offensive line. Year 3 for Derek Carr and John Gruden's system. I love Kwiatkowski and Littleton at linebacker, some of the guys they picked up. I think the Raiders, in their first year in Vegas, get that last wild card spot in the AFC, if you can believe that. So Chiefs, Bills, Baltimore, Indy, and then your wild card, the Steelers, the Patriots, and the Raiders.
Now, do either one of those 3 wild card teams make it to the AFC Championship game?
They do not. In the AFC Championship game, I've got the Ravens and the Chiefs. I still think those 2 teams are a little bit better than everybody else in their conference. So I've got the Ravens and the Chiefs, except this year, since they didn't get to play last year, I got the Ravens taking down the Chiefs. I think Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens are going to be able to control the game on the ground. They've got the secondary to be able to match up with the Chiefs and the D-line. I think it's the Ravens' year in the AFC. I think the Ravens go to the Super Bowl and win the AFC Championship game.
All right, now let's shift gears over to the NFC. We'll start in the West, like I asked you before. Seahawks or Niners?
So I'm going to go Seahawks, Bri, but I'm also going to make sure everyone is aware of the absolute no-brainer that DraftKings has going on right now. It is unbelievable. Listen to this, okay? DraftKings Sportsbook has moved the spread to Kansas City plus 101 for all users. So even if Kansas City loses by 100 points to Houston in week 1 in the opener, you still win. They're giving you free money at DraftKings. That's what they're doing. Plus, DraftKings is giving away up to $100 million in prizes to all users who enter their free football survivor pool. All you have to do is sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook, enter their survivor pool, and you'll instantly get a share of up to $100 million in giveaways. So if you like to bet, boom, you get a free win with the Chiefs plus 100. If you like survivor pools, enter this one for free. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code ROSS to take advantage of this no-brainer of an offer. That's promo code ROSS to get on all of the action for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or PA only. Bonus is comprised of a first deposit bonus and a first bet match, each up to $500. Deposit bonus requires 25 times playthrough. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. So, as you were saying, Bri, in the NFC West, I've got the Seahawks. I think the Niners, it's just tough to do it a couple years in a row. The Niners barely won the division last year. I think that the Trent Williams pickup was big, but they're already a little beat up at receiver with Deebo Samuel and Jalen Hurd and otherwise. I just think it's going to be the Seahawks who take that division this year.
What about in the NFC East?
So this has changed over the last couple of days, Bri. And I'm switching from the Eagles to the Dallas Cowboys. I like the Eagles' continuity with the coaching staff and Carson Wentz. But these O-line issues, first Brandon Brooks, then Andre Dillard, and now Jason Peters says he won't move to left tackle unless he gets more money. And even if he does, a little bit concerned now about Matt Pryor's ability to be the starter at right guard all year. And then they don't really have a whole lot of depth behind them right now. So, look, I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles make a move. But you also have, by the way, Jalen Reagor, who's out for the first 4 weeks with a shoulder injury. It's a lot. It's a lot. Cowboys are really healthy right now. So I thought they would be neck and neck throughout, but the injuries are enough that the Dallas Cowboys are going to be able to overcome the Eagles and win the NFC East.
All right, let's go to the North.
Boy, went back and forth on this a bunch, Bri, and was very tempted, to take the Detroit Lions to win the division. Very tempted. But I just don't see the Packers falling that far, especially in year 2 of Matt LaFleur and with year 2 of Mike Pettine's defense and with Aaron Rodgers pretty clearly having something to prove. I just don't see it happening. I've got the Green Bay Packers at like 10-6, maybe 11-5, still winning the NFC North, holding off the Vikings and the Detroit Lions. I think the Bears are probably in the basement.
Last but not least, the NFC South. Who you got there, or should I say who dat you got there?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that it's going to be a good contest with the Saints and the Bucks. I think you guys know over the years I'm pretty big on that Tom Brady guy, but I just think the Saints have an awesome, awesome team, awesome roster, and you'll hear how awesome I think they are in a little bit here, but I think the Saints win the division.
All right, we got 3 wild cards in the NFC. Who are they?
And again, Bri, these wild cards are tough, man. Really, really tough. I mean, I went back and forth on a lot of these. I think Kyle Shanahan and the Niners still get in. So I got the Niners as one of the 3 wild cards. Tom Brady and the Bucks, they'll win 9 or 10 games and they'll get in. And I have the Eagles finding a way to win that 9th, maybe 10th game and get into the postseason because that's what Doug Peterson does. Doug Peterson finds a way late in the year for his team to rally to get into the playoffs. So I've got the Eagles getting in as well. So Seahawks, Cowboys, Packers, Saints, those are your division winners. Niners, Bucks, and Eagles are your wild card teams in the NFC.
Now, unlike the AFC, it looks like in the NFC you've got one of those wild card teams going on to the championship game.
How about it? NFC championship game Saints over Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks. At that point, I am predicting a decent amount of fans might be allowed in the stands. And I think the Saints, with somewhat of a home field advantage and that beautiful roster, take down Tom Brady and the Bucks in an all NFC South Conference Championship game.
Wow. And last but not least, the big one. What are you looking at for the Super Bowl?
So you'll be pretty happy, Bri. I think it's the Saints and the Ravens, and I think Drew Brees gets to go out on top. I think this is Drew Brees' last year in the NFL. I think the Saints win the Super Bowl over the Baltimore Ravens. The Saints go marching, and Drew Brees goes marching into the NBC broadcast booth as a two-time Super Bowl champion, which would be really, really cool. I'd be happy for him. By the way, Bryce, speaking of cool, one of the coolest things about our job is when you find out about a company that you never heard of that's absolutely awesome. That is GovX. You have to visit govx.com and register for free. So govx.com. Here's the deal, right? A lot of you are first responders. A lot of you have been in the military. I think of like Rob Gallman, Will Orr, some of the guys that are Tuckheads, patrons on our private Slack channel. Don't you wish there was one place you could visit that had a carefully crafted selection of deals for military, medical workers, fire, police, EMS in one spot? That's what GovX did. They've got all Yeti, Garmin, Oakley, athletic apparel, tactical gear. It's like a grown man's toy store. It's unbelievable. If you've got a military or first responder background, visit govx.com and sign up for free for instant access to tons of deals and a community that honors your service. You guys know how I feel about your service, and I mean men and women when I say guys there. Here's the deal. Use my name, Ross. So $15 off orders over $50 or more. So the code is Ross. So try that immediately. Any of you first responders. It's free to sign up for an account at govx.com, and then you get $15 off your first orders of $50 or more. Code Ross. Very, very, very cool.
Tuck's Takes.
Crazy amount of news to get to after just one day. Let's start with some DB news. Chargers safety Derwin James out for the season after knee surgery. Cornerback Logan Ryan signs with the New York Giants, and the Raiders cut Prince Amukamara.
I'll go reverse order, Bri. Amukamara, I think the Raiders just felt like they had better guys. They brought him in to provide depth and to challenge guys, but I think they thought if he's not starting, if he's not better than what they have, no reason to have him. The Giants desperately needed a guy like Logan Ryan. They needed a corner after the DeAndre Baker situation where it looks like it's highly unlikely he'll ever play again in the NFL, certainly not for the Giants with his felony arrest charges. So they got Logan Ryan, which smart move by the Giants. To have a shot this year, to be competitive this year, they had to make that move. This is what happens when your draft choices don't work out. You have to do something like this. And Derwin James, just such a shame. Explosive, really a gifted, talented young guy who's had a tough time staying healthy in college, and now he's having a tough time staying healthy in the NFL. Unfortunately, some guys' bodies just struggle to stay healthy, and it's not their fault. It's just genetics typically.
Tuck's Takes.
Other major news includes the Jaguars cutting running back Leonard Fournette, the Vikings asking Riley Reef to take a pay cut, Texans giving linebacker Zach Cunningham big money extension. Saints running back Alvin Kamara being away from the team with an undisclosed absence for 3 days that has something to do with his contract.
So Fournette, I mean, think about now. Listen, evidently the Jags think they got out of the last guaranteed portion of Fournette's contract because he was suspended and stuff like that. So they don't think they have to pay him the $4 million he's owed, but they might have to. They might settle, and he's going to file a grievance. But that's how desperately they wanted to get rid of Leonard Fournette. They just wanted him out of there. So not a good sign for other teams. Now, he'll get signed by somebody, but not a good sign that the Jaguars were that desperate to move on from him at all. Riley Reef, I mean, you know, the Vikings just got Yannick Ngakoue, so good for them. But then you're going to cut your left tackle? Boy, if I Riley Reef, there's a lot of teams that need a good left tackle or that would be interested in his services. I'd probably tell the Vikings to stick it. He doesn't need to take that pay cut. I bet you somebody else signs him for a good amount of money. Congrats to Zach Cunningham. You know how awesome I think it is when guys get huge contracts, life-altering contracts for what they put out there and how they performed. And Alvin Kamara, yeah, I mean, the time is now. These guys, Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, they are fighting hard to try to get their money now before this season starts because they know that the shelf life for running back is not real good, and they're trying to take advantage of it.
Tuck's Takes.
Elsewhere, the Chiefs gave 6-year contracts to both Brett Veach and Andy Reid. The NFL has taken over the investigation of workplace misconduct in Washington. And then the 49ers linebacker Fred Warner, latest player to be placed on the COVID-19 list.
Yep. So well-deserved for Brett Veach and Andy Reid, obviously. I mean, Andy Reid's proven himself over the long haul. Veach helped him win the Super Bowl, and he got all these guys under contract for the long haul, the core players, and he discovered Patrick Mahomes. So he deserves that. So kudos to both of those guys. The NFL taking over the investigation. I mean, they kind of had to, right? And this is another thing we'll talk about with Andrew Brandt tomorrow. But, you know, especially once some of the stuff started to point to Daniel Snyder, you can't have Daniel Snyder being in charge of the investigation into Daniel Snyder, essentially. Can't happen. And then Fred Warner, you know, it had been a while since anybody had been placed on that list. I think DeAndre Washington got placed on it too, but Fred Warner is like the most noteworthy player to get placed on that list. So I think Kyle Shanahan said this, but it is a good reminder for these guys to make sure they're doing all the right things away from the field so that they don't get placed on the COVID-19 list. So those guys are all trying to figure those things out. So we shall see. Other than that, I think that'll do it, Bri. Even Money podcast later today. Make sure you check it out. Should be awesome. Shout outs, Pizza Boy Brewing, DynastyFreaks.com. I think we're done here.
Thanks for listening to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also subscribe to the Fantasy Feast, Even Money, Business of Sports, and College Draft. All available at Apple Podcasts, RossTucker.com, or wherever podcasts can be found.